Now we're going to go through the playlist and we are going to look for our welcome graphic. Now graphics will come from two places. Either there'll be graphics already in the planning center, the Pro Presenter graphic bin over here, so those graphics are already there, or there will be a graphic that someone gives you. Let's assume for this one that our welcome graphic, we already have it. Same thing, we want to link that to something that's a graphic or something that's in our library. So what we're going to do is we're going to click link. We're going to take the welcome graphic that we want to use and we're just going to drag it in, and there it is. But now here we have something called the One Church Prayer, and the way that you are going to get this every time is via email. So on your computer you're going to open Mail, which you can just type in Mail there. So you will receive every week a One Church, One Kingdom prayer from Francie O'Brien. So you'll open that on a Sunday morning, you'll open that email, it will load, and there will be an attachment, which you can see because there's a little paper clip. So what you'll do is you'll open that paper clip, you'll see the Constantia Park Baptist thing, and you will click on it. It'll ask you where you want to save it. You could save it to the desktop, for example. Click Save. And then you would go to your desktop. And the way to get your desktop is either you can press F3 and you can just click on a blank desktop, or you can just swipe across on your mouse with a few fingers. Then you'll see there is a Constantia Park PowerPoint we just downloaded. You're going to open that up. And it's going to open it up in Keynote. Now we don't want to use another program during the service if we can avoid it. So what we want to do is we want to export this to a graphic. We're going to click Export to Images. Always make sure that you've created an image for each stage of the build. If there are more than one slide, there's only one slide here, so you don't need to worry about that. You click Next. And again, where do you want to save it? We'll save it on the desktop. We'll export. It'll create the image files, and we can close Keynote. We'll go back to Pro Presenter. Remember, we're wanting to link something here, so we'll click Link for the One Church Prayer. We'll open our Finder. Then, if you click Finder and nothing happens, Command N will create a new Finder window for you. You'll go to Desktop. You'll go to the folder that we've just created, which will have the graphic in, and we'll drag that graphic right in there. And so now you'll see we have that there. Now what about times where we want to import something where there is more than one graphic? Because everything on your playlist can only have one thing. We cannot assign more than one graphic to anything else there. But let's say, for example, we have a sermon presentation that we are going to control from within Pro Presenter. Obviously a sermon presentation has got more than one graphic. So what we're going to do is we are going to open our Keynote. Either you would have received it on a flash disk or emailed to you, however the pastor that wants you to control the presentation gives it to you. We're going to open our Keynote, and same thing, you're going to go File, Export to Images. Always make sure for a sermon presentation you have activated, create an image for each stage of the build. What that means is that if there is a slide that's got 2 or 3 builds coming in, it'll create them as different slides, which we need on Pro Presenter. Make sure your quality is high. Next, we'll take it to the desktop. Let's call it our sermon keynote, which I already have there, but let's save it again. Export. It'll create the image files. You will close Keynote. Back to Pro Presenter. Now remember why we're doing this. You cannot bring, if we go to our Finder, Command New for a new Finder window. Remember, we have many slides. We have many slides there. We cannot just link that. So we've got to create a presentation by clicking New. We'll call it Sermon Presentation. Make sure that the category is Sermon Notes. The template doesn't matter. You'll click New. Let's make it Sermon Presentation 2. You'll click New, and it's already created a sermon presentation with a blank slide. Now all we need to do is we go back to our Finder window, move it out of the way a little. We select all our slides by dragging or Command A, and then we just drag them in after that first slide. Again, remember, if there are graphics, either we can use existing if you know that it's the same file that you've got in, but if you think that maybe there's been some changes, go right over, there's no harm in that. And then what it's done is it's given us a sermon presentation where we can click on a blank slide, and then we've got the other slides. Now what we want is we need to assign the sermon presentation to that file. So we click sermon presentation, we click link, and we drag it in right there. And we just go through things. So if there was an announcement video, we would put in a video. If there were announcement slides, we would do the same thing we've just done with the sermon presentation. We'd create an announcement file in the library that we're going to link. Whatever it is that we need to bring in, we'll do it like that. Once we have done this, then what we need to do is we need to convert this to a non-PCO playlist. The reason we do that is because you cannot make any changes on this playlist. So for example, if someone comes to you and says, here is a graphic, I would like you to put this communion graphic in. We're going to have communion. Please put communion graphic at the end. There is actually nowhere here that says we're going to use a communion graphic, so I can't drag it in. Look what happens if I try to drag it in. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. But if I convert it to a non-PCO playlist, and I want to have communion after that song, I can just drag that graphic right in there. And then straight after, no holding back, I can go to my communion graphic and I can play it. The only downside of this is now if there are any updates on Planning Center, I'm not going to know about them. So if the order changes, I'm going to have to change it manually. So what you need to do is on the app, so on your Planning Center app, you need to open the order of the service. It's good to keep that open with you next to you when you are involved in rehearsal at a church, because if we change anything on the service, so for example, if a worship leader goes and changes the order of a song like that, then you can go, okay, I need to move that one around to there, and your order manually needs to match. So that's how we will set up our playlists for a Sunday. That's how we will get things into the playlist. Once you've converted to non-PCO, if you want to remove things that you are not going to be using, you're welcome to do that.